Have you ever been playing a game and wondered what the NPCs do with their time when you're not directly interacting with them? Well, I decided to experiment with this. I was playing Red Dead Redemption 2 and I decided for 24 hours I'm gonna follow an NPC, try to keep my distance as much as possible, and see what they get up to. Now, I'll be honest, my quest was already complicated from the beginning. I got sidetracked because I found out as I was riding into Valentine that I actually had a pretty large bounty. You know, no big deal initially, but in going to pay it off, I bumped into a guy who then started a fight with me, and one thing led to another, and Arthur got arrested for murder, and it was a whole thing. But it actually worked out because I got released from jail at about 6 a.m., which was the perfect time to see what NPCs were up to. NPCs were just starting their days. I went to the hotel just to try to see if there was any NPCs hanging out there that I could follow, and I eventually ran into this guy. I will call him Jim. Jim almost bumped into me as I was leaving the hotel, but he didn't start a fight with me, and after my previous experience, this was already a win, and I was like, you know what? Jim is the one. I'm gonna follow Jim. Jim almost immediately got on a horse and started riding out of Valentine. He rode incredibly slowly. He was clearly not in any rush. I followed him for quite a while. We rode through Valentine and then we started riding out. For the most part, this ride was pretty uneventful. He almost got hit by another NPC in a wagon, which was kind of funny, but he didn't actually get hit. So I'm gonna just speed up a lot of this footage because it's pretty uneventful. Eventually, I accidentally got too close to him and I kind of spooked him, but I backed off really quick. You know, I played it super cool. He probably didn't suspect anything. But this is where things got strange, because as I was riding to catch up with him after I had accidentally scared him, I came around the corner and his horse was there, but he was nowhere to be found. I looked in the trees and foliage nearby. I even used binoculars to see if I could see him running somewhere. He was seemingly nowhere. Not sure what happened here, but Jim completely vanished from everything that I can tell, which was sad. It kind of felt like he abandoned me, which, you know, hurt my feelings a little bit, but at least I got a horse out of it. I took his horse, I rode it back into Valentine. I decided I was not going to give up on my quest. I was gonna find another NPC to follow. And right as I finished hitching my horse, I nearly ran into another NPC leaving the hotel, also wearing a red shirt like Jim. And I thought, you know what? Perfect. It's probably like fate. Here is Jim number 2. Jim number 2 followed the road, walking very, very slowly. And I will tell you an observation that I made about him very quickly. I think Jim number 2 may be the grossest NPC in Red Dead Redemption 2. As I followed him, I saw him sneeze multiple times into his hand, wipe his hand on his shirt, pick his nose. He was basically messing with his nose the entire time that he was walking along. And he even interacted with other NPCs as he was doing all this stuff. I can't imagine what they must have thought of him. I mean, I was grossed out. I followed him, and our very slow walk eventually led us to the train station, where he started picking up some sacks from outside the train station, and very, very slowly, cautiously, he clearly cares about his work and precision, carried those sacks from the train station to inside of the auction yard. Now, here is where I almost got sidetracked again. I managed not to, but I almost got sidetracked again because there was an O'Driscoll NPC standing outside of the auction yard who kept trying to interact with me and like yell at me. Every time I looked over at him, he was watching me from a distance. It was so creepy. I mean, he watched me for hours. Does he not have better things to do with his time? It was so crazy. But I resisted the urge to say anything back to him because I knew that my mission of following Jim number 2 was more important. Jim number 2 continued his work. He carried 4 total sacks from the station to the auction yard before he decided to take a break. This was later in the afternoon. He took a break to go smoke a cigarette, and he very thoughtfully stood at an animal pen and just sort of stared at the animal pen and smoked for hours. I want to say it was 2 or 3 hours that he just stood there and smoked. And the most amazing thing about it was was he smoked the same cigarette the entire time. He must have some kind of magical cigarettes. As the sun was starting to set, Jim broke from this long, thoughtful stare that he was in, and he started walking back towards the shops of Valentine. He eventually walked through an alley along the side of the saloon, towards the back of the saloon. I assumed he was just gonna go through the saloon's back door, but he didn't. Now, it may be that he was meant to do that, but he did not successfully do it. He ended up walking back and forth between the back door and the side of the building for several hours until about midnight. He finally broke that cycle, walked through the alley back to the front of the saloon. Not sure what happened here. My headcanon is that he was nervous to go into the saloon for some reason, and so he was trying to get up the guts to do it before he finally just went in through the front door. Jim number 2 enters the saloon and he goes directly to the bar. He hangs out at the bar for a while. He did not eat and he did not drink. It didn't seem like he was interacting with anyone. I almost lost sight of Jim number 2 because I got distracted by an NPC who was leaving the bar who had a beer bottle like glitching through his hand, which was kind of a strange thing to see, but that seems to have resolved itself. Jim number 2 stood at the bar. The bartender finally brought a bottle to the bar. He set it down in front of Jim number 2 and Jim number 2 just walked away. He ended up leaving the bar. It was very early morning hours at this point in time, and I assumed he's done his work for the day, he's done his social time for the day. It's probably time for him to go to sleep. And I thought that my hypothesis was being proved correct because he went walking back towards the hotel. And so I was like, okay, we're gonna probably see him just go to a door and walk through it, not be able to follow him. And this is where another strange thing happened. I followed him into the hotel. He went back to a room. He entered the room and I was also actually able to see into the room or enter it if I had wanted to. And Jim number 2 just stood against the wall and that was it for hours. The sun rose, he stood against the wall. People started doing things outside, starting their days. He stood against the wall. It wasn't until about 10 a.m., about the time that I had originally run into him the day before, that he moved from this standing position and went back outside. He exited the hotel and started down the street the same way that I had seen him do the day before. So, what I've gathered from my time following him is that about 10 a.m., Jim number 2 enters the street, walks down very slowly while picking his nose to the auction yard. He carries about 4 sacks back from the train station to the auction yard. He goes and smokes for several hours. He then goes to the back of the saloon, walks around back there for several hours. Then he goes into the saloon, stands at the bar for a little bit, leaves the saloon, goes to the hotel, stands against the wall at the hotel for several hours, and that is his life. What a strange and boring life for him to lead, even though he's not real. It actually makes me think that the hijinks that I get into as a protagonist probably add some, drama and excitement to his day. So, I left the situation feeling kind of good about myself. I went back to the saloon. One thing led to another, and I got into a fight. I got arrested, and I got released from jail again at about 6 a.m. And I thought to myself, I wonder what Jim number 2 is doing. If he's following his routine, he should be at the hotel. So I decided I would go to the hotel. I went to his room and there he was? Question mark? Because I don't know that this was him. It is an NPC of a similar model, but wearing different clothing, and to me, the face looks kind of different. I don't know. You all can tell me what you think in the comments, but to be honest, this left me with more questions than answers, because if that isn't Jim number 2, that means 2 NPCs that I was following just sort of randomly disappeared or were replaced, and that's not what I expected from this experiment. I kind of thought it would be very basic, and it has definitely been more than that. I found it really interesting. I thought it was pretty funny. I certainly entertained myself doing it, and I hope that you're entertained by it. If you like content like this, if you want me to follow more NPCs, or even if there's like a specific game you'd like me to follow an NPC in, please let me know in the comments. I would certainly do it again if you all enjoyed it. If you like more content like this, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.